name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is in the world, wherever you are tuning in from. Damien, how is France?
It's good. I mean, definitely, it's been super busy. We are starting at 10:30 a.m. and basically they are still playing right now. But I decided to just cut it a bit short today, get an early night in, which basically means talking tennis. So I'm not actually going to be resting, but well, whatever.
You say cut it short. I gather that it was a little bit difficult to cut Bonzi short today in terms of the press.
Bonzi himself, he was fine. He was very insightful. I'm not saying he was brief with his answers, definitely not. But the French journalists, they did go for it. I was like already, 3 times, because obviously I was just waiting for them to finish and then I'm coming in. So basically, like already 3 times I made the first step towards Bonzi, and then somebody else has a question, and then somebody else, and then somebody else. But now, thankfully, I mean, he did fine, and he was definitely happy to talk. I was planning to cut it a bit short with him if, I saw that he was already irritated, but no, he wasn't. So good for him. Good guy, Bonzi.
Nice. Yeah, of course, he was in form. I remember that was a common phrase we were using at the end of last year, Damien. We are, by the way, for everyone tuning in, this is not the Bonzi show, but I do want to find out about his form since the beginning of January, because I remember you were going crazy about him at the end of last year, saying he just kept winning, right?
Yeah, I mean, he went, 21-1 in his last 4 events, I think. Of course, 2 challenger titles. The only loss that he actually had was 3 match points against Virtanen. And also later, he obviously wins his first ATP Tour title. So I guess that's actually 22-1, not 21-1. And yeah, I mean, right now he's just like picking up 2 free wins every single event, which is good. It just doesn't seem like he's actually going to, like, let's say, be beating top 50 guys right now. Like in Australia, when he was running into the first like really good opponent, he was losing. But I don't know, maybe he can set that up. Maybe he can like fix that up. In Lille, he has a very good draw to make the semis, and after that it would kind of be, whatever happens later, because he can play Kim, he can play Mike Schack in the semis, Blocks, Pui in the finals, guys like this. So like against them, I have no clue. But I'm pretty confident he's gonna beat who he's supposed to beat. Like that's kind of where he is at the moment, I believe.
Yeah, indeed. Gavin, are you watching some tennis right now?
I was just watching Medvedev.
I'm calling
Bellucci.
you Gavin, by the way. I meant Fergus. I'm probably not the first person to ever said that, but anyway.
No,
you're
nice. Okay.
I was very nice of you, by the way, to just go. I could have called you Bob, and I think you might still have.
Well, I was thinking, it's been half a month, since I was last on, or maybe like 10 days. So I'll give you it.
Thank you.
No, I was watching Medvedev Bellucci. Bellucci has a big opportunity to take down Medvedev. Medvedev hasn't looked great, but now Medvedev took the second sets in a tie break, and now it's sort of like Bellucci's hanging on to serve. So, yeah, and then earlier today, I watched the Badosa Noskova match, which was actually quite a resounding victory for Noskova. Badosa wasn't at her best by any means, but all credit to Noskova, because she was very impressive.
We will get into that. Will probably be kind of where we begin in a way with the WTA Abu Dhabi, because that sort of tournament is done for the day. But actually, let's bring us right to the present. I can see, as you said, that Bellucci is hanging on to his serve. But let's go broad for at least for Damien and I, because I don't know how much of this match Damien will have seen, possibly none. I want to go broader, Damien, on Medvedev. When Fergus just said, it's not looking good for Medvedev, or it wasn't looking good for Medvedev, I'm trying to think when the last time it did look good for Medvedev. Maybe 18 months ago? Damien?
Yeah, I muted myself. Never mind. That was actually just totally me. Anyway, well, I think 18 months is a stretch. Obviously he hasn't won a title.
It is
in
a
ages,
stretch.
but
It's
he
a
had-
stretch of bad form. No, I know what you mean. I wasn't quite sure whether to say 15, 16, or 18 months, but yeah.
I mean, he beat Sinner at Wimbledon, for example, right? He was still in the mix.
A limp, stroke lame, stroke sick.
Sure,
stroke
but
not
still,
100%.
like he was in the mix at the time. Right now, it doesn't feel like he's in the mix. And this is the part of the season where we're always saying, okay, so this is where Medvedev is at his strongest. It's just a shame because there's no slams. Maybe right now it will actually be different, but no, I mean, I'm kind of kidding because it's looking very bleak for him at the moment. I actually am watching Medvedev Bellucci as well right now, so even though I didn't get to see much tennis outside of Lille today, this one I actually am quite familiar with. I mean, obviously Bellucci, it's kind of high time for him to push someone high ranked. The last few matches he was actually going away pretty easily. But still, you gotta say, okay, Medvedev lost a set to Wawrinka and kind of had to just come back from the brink there. Here he's doing the same, already saved a match point. Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't wake up sometime soon, if things don't start happening for him, I don't really know if that second slam, will ever become a possibility. Like right now, we're asking whether he's going to win a title, and not whether he's going to win a slam from here.
Yeah, indeed. I think many of his fans are great. We're really looking forward to seeing him back in the winner's circle. I'm not sure it'll happen in Rotterdam. And that's the problem with these first two matches anyway. If he loses, it's just continuing the spiral. If he wins, especially in the manner that he beats Wawrinka and whatever happens against Bellucci today, it's only going to sort of add to the suggestions that, not all things are not well. And I don't think it's crazy, Damien, to suggest. I want Fergus to keep sort of an eye on the match, and you can tell us if anything crazy happens, Fergus. But in the meantime, I think falling outside the top 10 has to be a real possibility.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I think I had him pretty high in my potential rankings or something like that we did with James and Vange, but at the moment, it's not looking good for that prediction. Definitely not.
Indeed. Go on, Fergus.
Is February the month that we have the most shock results on the tour, do you think?
Not sure. I can see why you might think that post-Australia.
It's one of the only months that we don't have a Masters on the men's side. I mean, on the men's side purely.
How about October?
October. We have Shanghai,
don't we have
though.
Paris Masters.
I mean, okay, let's say second half of October, first week of November.
I don't remember that being the question, Damien. Just saying.
Yeah, Fergus, he's growing in confidence, Damien. He's growing in confidence.
Who won Rotterdam last year? It was Sinner, Ashley. Sinner won Rotterdam last year.
Yeah, although I like the way
in the final.
Ashley threw me off a little bit by talking about shout out to Monica, and then I started looking through sort of who was in the chat, and I was thinking I don't know anyone called Monica in the chat, and then obviously I quickly got it. That's why
I don't even know Monica Bellucci, so
I didn't know her until 6 months ago when it came up in the chat. Anyway, regarding shocks, your question was, of course, I mean, listen, I don't know if February stands out for me in that respect, but I guess the theory would be that, post-Australia, people are chasing themselves across the planet, potentially playing tournaments back-to-back. But Sinner pulled out of Rotterdam this year, possibly quite wisely. It doesn't stand out for me as being I mean, Sinner winning in Rotterdam last year, for example, Medvedev doing well there in the past. Yeah, it doesn't stand out as a shocking tournament. Acapulco is in February. Yeah, and that tends to be won by, it was won by Nadal quite often. And yeah, I don't really see it as being, I would say, if anything, which is the sort of Masters 1000 that springs up the kind of most surprising results. I mean, last year would obviously be Madrid maybe on the men's side, but I think it made for a pretty disappointing tournament. But I think there's an asterisk there because of the injuries that Sinner and Alcaraz were carrying at the time. I don't know if there's
Historically, it's surely Paris. I mean, there's no
Paris Bercy.
question about it.
Yeah.
So that's why I was going for that October-November thing. Scott is there as well with a question about Andy Murray. I mean, honestly, by myself, never. But I do follow you on Twitter, so basically every day, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, same. I actually completely agree. Although I think I probably think about Murray more than Damien does. But because I see your tweets, Scott, every single day I think about Murray. Every single day without fail.
Yeah, I've got a question for Scott. Actually, if you're still there, do we think that this is going to continue the partnership with Djokovic? I'm anticipating an announcement that they are going to go their separate ways. And thanks very much. But that's just a hunch and not much more. But yeah, for now, Ashley, Andy is still on Novak's team. But yeah, Bellucci and Medvedev remain on serve. I'll keep that on the screen for now. However, let's go to a tournament that we can talk about the results from. In fact, I'm going to share some of those scores from Abu Dhabi as well right now, including that result that you saw in the match I believe you saw earlier on, involving Badosa going out. And Badosa, for me, was probably the second favourite for that tournament, Fergus.
Well, yeah. She just wasn't. It's the thing in these sorts of 500s is that in a match where one of the favourites comes up against still someone that's very, very good, but isn't quite up there with favourites to win the tournament, you lose the first set and then you sort of have a bad start to the second set. Like you either go, like you're either 1-love down still on serve, or it comes to 2-1 and then suddenly it can all get away from you very quickly and then the game's gone without you even realising it. And I think that was just what Badosa was feeling today. She just wasn't really on it. And yeah, Dave in the chat saying about Kazakina obviously lost as well. Strange one from Kazakina. Looked like she was struggling to hold serve, really.
And I saw on social media that people were suggesting there was nothing wrong with her physically. No.
She looked fine when I was watching her. I was flicking between the Badosa and the Kazakina match. But yeah, Kazakina really didn't look up to it. I thought I sort of saw a 6-1 first set and thought, okay, that's fine. Let's swap it over because that'll be over pretty quickly. Thanks for following me back on Twitter, Scott. Just got that notification come through. But yeah, it was strange. Rybakina, not at her best, but done enough to defend, start her title defense.
Yeah, right. Volley nets, of course, can push many people, including the right buttons where Nurlan is concerned. Anyway, Rybakina is through, and she's going to be playing on Jabeur in arguably the most interesting quarterfinal coming up. Rybakina against Jabeur, I think it's just very difficult to predict which Elena and which Ons is going to turn up. Would you be particularly excited for that match if, Damien, you happen to be in Abu Dhabi right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely quite a huge one. The rematch of a Wimbledon final. The story is there. Ons typically would be seeded higher than, well, unseeded as she was in this event, right? So typically it wouldn't happen in a quarterfinal, let's just say. And then I think it's definitely the best one on tomorrow's schedule, the headliner. And right now with how Rybakina is looking, and obviously Ons having her most healthy start to the season since ages, I mean it's definitely looking like the potential quality clash.
Did you see? Go on, Fergus.
Don't want to jump in, but I think Bellucci's called out the trainer. He fell over chasing a Medvedev ball quite suddenly, and then he played a couple games and he's called the trainer. I'm not sure what it's for, but yeah, just wanted to keep you guys updated.
Thank you. No, that's great. Fergus, did you see any of Rybakina today?
I did not, unfortunately, no.
Okay.
I cannot comment.
She's kind of in a not quite as it's very different in terms of how they've got to their situations, but she's someone who's in a bit of a Medvedev-esque sort of situation where when she's in the early rounds of tournaments, you know, unless she's steamrolling opponents, which often she's not, such as today, she is kind of in this sort of, well, you know, we still don't really know what to expect. And in fact, more often than not, since Wimbledon in particular, what we have come to expect is either a departure from the tournament or, you know, a retirement or withdrawal. However, I guess her loss to Madison Keys, Damien, has at least aged quite well, right?
Has aged well, and I don't think it was a particular concern, but still in that match. But there was still that back injury against Jastrzębska, so Australia kind of represented the same issues again. And yeah, I mean, as long as she doesn't produce another big Grand Slam run, it's going to be very hard for us to put her in the same conversation as Sabalenka, Świątek, Gauff. Like that's kind of been the story of last year, more or less, right? I mean, early 2024, she's just as good as Świątek, but kind of at some point you have to arrive at a moment where, like, who cares? You're not doing well at the slams.
Yeah, indeed. Fergus, despite not seeing Rybakina today, are you going to give me a prediction for this particular encounter? And you don't have to go too detailed. I don't want to hear about backhand winners down the line for breaks of serve or anything. Although it was fun, I don't know if you saw the way I captioned your prediction for, I think it might have been Keys against Sabalenka in the final.
I was so wrong, so it doesn't really matter either way. I was so far off.
I think we all were.
Yeah, I think Jabeur. You go back to last year and how Rybakina won this title. She was, as you were talking about, steamrolling people. Like, there wasn't much of a challenge thrown up last year for Rybakina. And she won that title with relative ease. And this year, I just think Jabeur's had more matches under her belt. And I think she's got a bit more confidence about her at the moment, Jabeur. So I think Jabeur in 3, maybe.
Nice. All right. I mean, Rybakina was obviously a year ago in a very different place. She'd beaten Sabalenka comfortably, I think, in Brisbane. Was it Brisbane or Adelaide? One of the tournaments just before
Brisbane.
Australia.
0-1.
Yeah. And was it 0-1? Did you say?
Yeah, it was 0-1.
My goodness me. Yeah.
I
mean, I know she went out.
0-3.
0-3 was it? Okay. But anyway, yeah, it was still a very, very comfortable win for her.
Correcting me.
Yeah, no worries. Yep. I'm sure Sabalenka's trying to forget that anyway. And Rybakina's probably trying to clutch at it because, yeah, she was in a very different position a year ago to where she is now, and obviously winning in Abu Dhabi as well, post-Australia. And the loss she had in Australia, I don't think set off too many alarm bells. It was more what happened in the rest of the season that probably did for that. Other results today. Lynette, by the way, friend of Damien's, just because she happens to come from the same country, but that's it. Emerged the winner over Pavlyuchenkova. I'm just going to have a quick look to see what happened to Pavlyuchenkova. But she retired 59 minutes, it looks like, into that match. Am I right? Yeah.
She took the first set and then
she did, yeah.
Lynette went 4-1 up, and I'm not sure. I wasn't following it. I turned it off when Pavlyuchenkova won the first set.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can find out any information on that. I'll come back to maybe that shortly, because all I've got at the moment is she retired, and I've got this very amusing picture of her on the WTA website, which looks like she's in a bar somewhere near the beach. Anyway, that is Pavlyuchenkova. She is out of Abu Dhabi, having withdrawn against Lynette. So Lynette strolls on. Other results, including Leigh Fernandez beating Lulu Sun for the loss of just 3 games. Vondrousova backed up her win over Emma Raducanu with a win over Putin-Sava. So maybe some good news there. Bencic, though, is probably the biggest result of the day from Abu Dhabi in terms of what on earth happened there. She won 6-love versus Veronika Kudermetova. And again, someone else who apparently had no signs of injury, just got blown off the court by someone who Damien rates in a big, big way, Belinda Bencic.
I mean, yeah, kinda, you know, the comeback is going great. I think she definitely will be like in the top 50. That's like the minimum expectation this year. And then
every time you say minimum expectation, you know what I'm thinking of.
That's what I was referencing.
Yeah.
And yeah, in terms of Bencic Vondrousova, I mean, we have a Wimbledon final rematch in the quarters in Abu Dhabi, and we also have an Olympic final rematch in the quarters in Abu Dhabi. So that could be like the second, big hitter in terms of the matches there tomorrow.
Dave here having a point that maybe we can all address actually regarding Garin. I do think there may have been a part of Garin that knew the best chance he might have to win that match would be to go down the route of being hurt. That's my hunch. Whether he should or should not, as in Bergs and Belgium, have been punished or not, I do think that Garin was probably hoping very much for the eventuality that didn't come about, which was the tie going their way. I don't know what you got. Any thoughts on this one, Damien?
I mean, when he realized that the default isn't actually coming, and if he was more or less fine physically, I guess he should have played. But yeah, ultimately, I do think this is like an obvious default by the rules that didn't happen. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Dave. I definitely do. It's tough to rate this from like Garin's position. It's easy to rate this from Belgium's position. I was even talking to Alexander Blocks about it today, and he said that he was in the locker room. He didn't know if he was gonna have to play the 5th match or if the match is over, right? Because the drama takes so long. So I mean, yeah, it was just a tough position to be in for everybody. I can't tell you whether Garin should have toughed it out, as you say that Calvin Betten and Stubbs said, because I don't know how Garin was feeling. I don't know how his eye was, right? Some of the photos that we saw, they weren't actually scary. I think Jose posted this photo of Garin sitting there, and you couldn't see anything in that photo.
I couldn't see anything. But it's so funny. Yeah. People who had their particular opinions on it said, look at this. You can see that Garin is clearly hurt. And every single comment on YouTube videos that we've put out in the last couple of days has been, if it's written in Spanish and coming from Chile, I know exactly what their perspective is. And the same writing either in English, French, or occasionally other languages.
So yeah, without knowing how that situation was like, the details of it, how Garin was feeling, I can't tell you what he should have done. I'm presuming that he really felt hurt. I don't know.
Yeah. Fergus, you want to add something on this?
I don't really have anything to add, but just more to echo Damien. It was strange, really, really strange. I think the umpire really missed a trick, not defaulting the Belgium side. But then again, Garin really should have just got up and played. It did not. Obviously, yeah, as Damien said, obviously you can't judge it from here, but it's not like Berg's 2-footed him and snapped his ankle. He couldn't move. It was dramatic in one sense, and I feel as though Garin should have really played on. Even though he was 6-5 serving, and Bergs was serving for the match, but it's irrelevant. He still should have played out.
Listen, I know it's not relevant regarding the default, but I do think that he was just massively pumped, and it was too late to put the brakes on when he realized where Garin was. I do think, again, this is just a hunch. I do think that Garin probably thought the best route to victory might be to stay prostrate on the floor. However, I also think that, as Damien highlighted, the rules suggest it should have been a default, and therefore maybe we should be casting our eyes more towards the officials rather than anyone else. As Dave said, and we have highlighted that before, that intent doesn't matter. Intentions to win this match between Medvedev and Bellucci are continuing. They do stay on serve. Fergus, did Medvedev have to save any match points in the tiebreak?
No, I don't believe so.
Yes.
Oh, did he?
There was one match point.
6-5. So Bellucci was 6-5. Okay, yeah.
6-5 on Medvedev's serve. And do I remember how the point looked? I probably don't.
Well, Bellucci has a break point here to serve for it, so
see how this goes.
At 5-5 in the tiebreak, I think Bellucci had a good serve, And then what happened at 6-5? I don't remember, but
I
definitely there was a
wasn't.
match.
I only picked it up. I only picked up at the start of the third set.
Yeah, no worries,
So-
Fergus. Oh, but you have got something to keep an eye on right now, Fergus.
And Bellucci breaks and will serve for the match.
Nice. So the
I like
spiral
this
for
cheeky shot
Medvedev.
from the operators here because they're showing, 5-3 and then.
I think Bellucci seems good card to. I think it was more he just wanted something for. He might have got a burn or something when he fell.
Okay.
Chasing the Medvedev ball. I think that must have been it because he looks absolutely fine. And obviously because he's just broken. But Medvedev did kind of just break himself with some errors, to be honest. So
Okay. Keep an eye on that game, Fergus, because obviously it could be now coming to an end should Bellucci hold serve. But somebody else who seemed to have a fall of some nature today in Rotterdam was Felix Auger-Aliassime, who's had to withdraw. I believe, actually, his injury sounds super painful, but also maybe one of the less concerning injuries on the tour, and it is something he's had before. I think it's related to an ingrowing toenail, which is super painful from my understanding. It's never happened to me, but it does sound super painful. He's obviously tried to play through it. I'm sure when he put his socks on before the match, he was well aware of what he was going to have to maybe suffer, but he wasn't able to suffer enough. And I think he said he had it before. But the good news for him, especially is, he's probably been in the best form that he's shown outside of October, the best form he's shown for many years. So fingers crossed he gets well soon. But yes, he had to retire from his encounter in Rotterdam today. Bellucci's up 15 love, I see, on his
30
serve.
love now. Medvedev goes long off the forehand side and then throws his racket in the air in frustration.
Listen, Damien,
Didn't he get broken with 2 random forehand errors as well just a second ago? I think he did. What do you want?
Yeah, no problem. If Medvedev is not making inroads in Rotterdam, where is he going to be making inroads, in terms of, finals and winning tournaments?
Well, that is the question. Indian Wells last year, and 2 years ago worked out for him, but he had so much confidence. I don't know, maybe Miami, or maybe you're just gonna have to wait until even post Wimbledon. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, worrying signs 100%.
3 match points.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, match point number 2, as Damien said. Damien was correct.
Yeah,
as per.
As always,
no change there. Literally no change there.
Yeah, let's see how this plays out with Bellucci serving. He's got 3 match points in a row this time, and of course they are all on his serve as opposed to the other one.
It's so good from Bellucci. Medvedev scrambling for his life, and it looked like he might have got the point, but a great volley on the backhand side means Bellucci goes through, and Medvedev is out. Medvedev ranking is 7, I believe.
Okay. That's his live ranking as a result of losing that match, or was his ranking?
His live ranking is 7.
Okay. Oh, well. So Daniil's pursuit of a title and the drought continues. Another friend of Damien's lost today, Matteo Berrettini.
You got a lot of friends, Damien.
I mean, Talon Grieksborg, Rotterdam. He's the GOAT.
He's the Dutch. I think I saw something about performances in the Netherlands as well, because he tends to do well at the grass court tournament as well, I think.
Yeah. He won Hertogenbosch. So yeah, he's got a ridiculous record on the ATP tour in Netherlands, and also ridiculous record in this venue. So yeah, I mean, we just basically expected at this stage. I mean, he's like the favorite to beat Tsitsipas probably in the next round. So.
Nerlan wants to know, how old is Monica Bellucci? I think she's pushing 60, Nerlan. I think that's how old
23,
she is.
Maybe 22.
I think he's 24.
Maybe could be 24. I think he could be born 2001, but I might be wrong on that.
He's 23. Guess what? Damien's right. What a shock.
Yeah, but I mean, this one I should know. I've kind of been like, really along for the journey, let's say. And to Jake's question earlier, who would I rather go out for food with? I mean, Monica Bellucci, yeah, she's beautiful, but she's not really my generation. I think I would vibe with Mattia more easily. I did speak to Mattia a few times as well, and he's like very intelligent. I think, yeah, definitely, I would go for Mattia, even though I would rather, let's say, spend a romantic evening with Monica.
Nurlan is suggesting I think they're more than friends. Well, of course they are, Nurlan. They're obviously related with names like Bellucci. But anyway, no, I'm not sure who he's referring to there. But you'll have to tell me, Nurlan, exactly which two are more than friends. Maybe it's Medvedev and Bellucci. Maybe they are more than friends, or maybe they are enemies right now. I haven't lost to the Italian today. So Medvedev, as I said, his title drought continues. Anyway, yes, Berrettini losing to the Dutch GOAT in tournaments in the Netherlands. Griekspoor, Jan-Lennart Struff losing to Marajan. I feel like I've seen Struff and Marajan play recently, but I
fourth
don't
match, 2022 Bratislava, 2023 Sofia, and 2024 Wimbledon, I think. I saw the match in Bratislava live. It was on this like court number 3, I guess it is, which is super fast, and Marajan somehow won. It's 2-2 now in the head-to-head.
Okay. How did the Wimbledon one go?
Struff won in 4.
Okay. Yeah, that should happen. If they're both healthy, then Struff should win that one. Anyway, Fils Lestien. So Fils is through in 3 sets. Damien, I saw an article the other day very critical of Artur Fis's second serve. Was this something that you were aware of before this?
I mean,
do you know which article I'm referring to, by the way?
No.
It was on Tennis Abstract.
Okay. I saw that Jeff wrote an article.
That changes things, right, Damien?
I saw that Jeff wrote an article on Fils.
Okay, go on.
No, Nick Carter would never write an article that would be this negative towards somebody's second serve. But with Jeff, I mean, I saw that he wrote an article on Fils, but also I know that his piece is probably like very much based on stats.
For sure.
I don't know if I ever really considered Fils' second serve to be like a massive weakness compared to other players. I would have to check what the stats say, basically. Patrick Zachray, whom I watched this week, for example, like I think I could write an article about his second serve because it's absolute trash. Like the difference is extreme. The difference is so extreme. I think today he won 3 out of 20 points on his second serve or something like that. And yeah, I mean, you can see that basically everybody is attacking it. So I think on his serve, yeah, I can just sort of like on the eye test, just tell you, okay, yeah, it's horrible. Fils, I don't think really stands out to me like this, but probably there's just like a big gap between his first serve points 1, second serve points 1. Maybe it's also weaker than, for some of his other, like, let's say, similarly ranked players. Again, I would have to check what sort of stats Jeff used for the article, I think, to have a better outlook on this.
Is that play done?
Sorry. Go on. In the top 50, who do you think has the worst second serve in the top 50?
Is it the same as the person who's got the worst first serve, as in Baez?
Well, no, I'm not speaking.
That's my question for Damien.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it could be, but then again, maybe the kicker of Baez is just like straight up better than the second serve of some other players. I don't know. I think people used to point out Rublev, but that has changed over the years. I don't know.
I mean, maybe the differential for Baez is probably not that bad. Like his first serve is lame, his second serve is lame, and therefore,
yeah. But like, is the second serve of his like much lamer than it is for other players?
Exactly. No,
probably
exactly,
not.
Yeah. Exactly. So probably the gap narrows on that second serve. But he was the first person
and
that came
on
in
clay, it like narrows maybe even in his favor.
Yeah, maybe. Give that one some thought, maybe. And also in the live chat, let us know what you think. Nice question, Fergus. Is that's play done for the day, I guess, in Rotterdam, is it?
No, I don't. I think there's one more. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, wow. Hechka. Damien, well, thank you very much for gracing us with your presence, given that you're countryman. And I think you're you like Lehechka too, right?
Probably like Lehechka a bit more.
Yeah, I know. I think
that's Damien's answer to everything.
No, there's players he's quite vocal about not enjoying watching. And there's also quite a few that he's maybe less of a fan of. He's not somebody who's sort of fairly bland on all players, or fairly positive about all players. There's certain players that I check players he tends to lean towards. There's a few hipster players on tour, Marajan probably being one of them, as he's on my screen right now. Yeah.
Who's your favorite player to watch, Damien?
I honestly can't tell you, just like one name. But yeah, any like super aggressive youngster for the most
What
part.
about your least favorite? Anyone that you purposefully avoid, like if their match is on telly,
Can I answer this on Damien's behalf first? Or like I can guess some players that are going into his head right now. So players that are going through Damien's mind right now, because there'll be dozens that are going across that tennis computer brain that we're looking at in front of us. There will be probably Andrei Rublev maybe in there somewhere, but I think there's probably others that are higher up the list, such as Jaime Munar, maybe.
No, I like Munar, but
really,
this is kind of like more hipsterish, right? But I just dislike all of these like very efficiency-based players. Like I don't know, Taylor Fritz, like watching him just like play the same ground stroke time and time again, cross court. I mean, I don't dislike the guy, but I don't watch him play whatsoever. Like I avoid his matches purposefully. Yeah.
Fergus.
So it's Zverev. Do you not like?
No, he likes watching Zverev. No, but you like
watching Zverev play.
Depends on the matchup, but
surely you like watching Zverev versus Fritz then.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I think at the ATP finals, I said that I enjoyed analyzing the matchup. It was pretty fascinating to see how Zverev can't handle how Zverev can't handle Fritz for like the fourth time in a row. But it was absolutely dreadful as well. Like I was just crying there. I'm just, I like big weapons. I like big shots. I like players who take risks. I know that they might not be like exactly, it's not percentage play or something like that. But that's what I like seeing. And when some player is like very much focused on that, like, I don't know, Karen Khachanov, when he's not believing in his game, is another guy who just like will hit the same ground stroke every single time, cross court, nothing happens.
Evil? What about Dr. Evil?
I mean,
yeah, but
he was the king.
He's not exciting to watch.
For me, he was.
Why? But why? By the way, Fergus, do you know who we're Fergus, do you know who we're talking about? Because obviously I'm sharing Dr. Evil on the screen.
I don't, but if you give me a clue, I could probably guess.
Okay, let's give you some clues. I'll start with the obvious clue that maybe even Damien can second guess me on. He beat Leighton Hewitt in round 1 in Wimbledon in 2003. He's retired. He's retired.
Would I? As in, like, this isn't like super like niche.
Not that niche. No, not that niche. He's known. He
wasn't the top.
Is he American?
No, but he lives in the States now. Not that is going to help you.
And I think where's he from? He's Croatian, right? Damien. Yeah. And there's parts of his game that you might associate with.
Yeah, like that's why he's well known. Not even because he was in the top 15, but because he is very like unique.
Oh, so are you thinking about Karlovic?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So Dr. Evo is a name that, some people call him that. And Damien, I think I've rarely heard him call him Karlovic. It's always Dr. Evo.
Dr. Evo. Surgical precision on the serve.
But he's not exciting to watch.
That's terrible, Damien. You need to put that away.
That's not me. I mean, that's the nickname that people came up with a million years ago. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I totally get that for most people, he was not exciting to watch. I don't know. I always enjoyed the kind of like the intricacies of watching him hit these like endless slice backhands, always afraid of the topspin. And I don't know, just watching that sort of a game that's this limited. And at the same time, pretty fun to me because there's so much net play. I don't know. I did enjoy it. Whenever he hits a good shot of the baseline, you're like, wow. When you mentioned, I don't know, Jaume Munar hits a decent forehand cross court, that's normal, right? When Ivo Karlovic hits a forehand winner, you're already like, oh my God. So yeah, I enjoyed that part of watching him. Yeah.
Look at this, by the way. Look how tiny does Leighton look there. I mean, Leighton. God. I know. I don't remember that hairstyle personally, but anyway, there we go. That was
03 Wimbledon. Was that Federer?
Yeah, that was the one he ended up winning. Yeah. That was my first ever tennis match watching in person. Yeah. And it was a memorable one. I think Hewitt won the first set, actually. And you thought, okay, his title defense is off and rolling. But Karlovic had other ideas and ends up winning the head-to-head 4-2 as well, as I've just found out. Totally get it, Damien, says Scott. Karlovic was good to watch because he was so tall. So it truly made you curious how he'd go about rallying and just constructing his shots and points, etc., etc. Cool. All right. Have we got anything else? Oh, well, let's just dwell on this a bit longer. Yeah, I thought Sampras was quite boring. Dave, I didn't enjoy watching him go about winning Wimbledon with consummate ease so often, and was certainly more a fan of watching Agassi grapple with the grass than Sampras. Again, it's personal take. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that love watching Sampras. I was a Becker fan as well. I didn't like Edberg, but that was only because I wanted Becker to win. I'm sure Edberg's game was equally as aesthetically pleasing in many respects. I just want to go back to this, though, Damien. Other players on tour right now who would be racing. I thought Munar would be there for you. Anyone this?
For some guys, like, I just maybe grow fond of them despite their play style. If I don't know, have some interaction with them or whatever. I used to really dislike Michael Moe as a player, but I actually like him now.
He's actually currently playing at
I know.
Speak.
Oh, is he? Oh, good. Nice.
He just came back last week.
By
But like his athletic pushing play style, like this is literally exactly what I hate about tennis. But I don't know, over the past year or so, when he had that big rise, because he back in the day he got to like 96 in the rankings, then fell back out, and I always said, oh wow, I mean, one of the worst top 100 players ever or something like that. But then he actually improves, and I started appreciating it. Jordan Thompson I used to kind of dislike as a player, but then he actually sort of starts being real, a real threat on the tour. And now I'm like, yeah, go for it, Jordan Thompson. You're also not complaining as much anymore, so you're also
what about
better to watch.
Giron and Wolf? Where are they?
Yeah, Giron I never watched. JJ was one of my favorites at this, especially when he was getting through challengers. JJ was definitely my favorite, and now I can watch him in challengers again for the time being, at least. But
Casper
Marcus
Ruud
Giron,
a year ago, Casper Ruud would have been on your list, but I enjoy watching
Probably.
Casper.
Ruud's on my list unless he's playing on clay.
Yeah, I started appreciating him a lot more after Estoril, but right now, with the way that he's playing right now, you can't tell me that you're enjoying it.
I haven't watched much of him this year, or probably even much since probably the French Open, and maybe that's a good thing. De Minaur, I don't find that exciting. Tommy Paul, similarly. Dimitrov is fun. Tsitsipas, I enjoy, but also find it like I want to hide behind the sofa at times. I did enjoy that that thing that they did at Rotterdam. That
was good. Yeah,
a lot of fun. And his reaction to getting the backhand or whatever. But anyway, he won that. Shelton I enjoy, and Rune very much so. Those two are very near the top of my list for players to enjoy watching. I'm just trying to find some more in this. Just finding players that Damien probably doesn't enjoy watching. Popperin, maybe? Damien?
Lukewarm, let's say.
Lukewarm. Go on, Fergus.
I want to know Damien's opinion on Dan Evans.
Okay to watch right now. Am I particularly excited when I see him in a draw? No. I mean, he lost to Gustavo Elias and Jeffrey Blancano indoors this year, so
we don't
not really.
I'm just
but
talking in general.
I know, but like in general, yeah. I mean, he definitely had times when he was really fun. I was rooting for him really hard to have a Wimbledon run. I think that year when he lost to Joao Souza, that was like such a massive opportunity. So
2019.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. He slices a ton. He plays at the net a lot, so he fits a lot of my kind of like. He was kind of like a less powerful Federer in many ways. So yeah, he fits a lot of my boxes. He ticks a lot of my boxes.
It's because I find it quite funny whenever I ask people's opinion on Dan Evans, it's very Marmite. People are like, I absolutely hate watching him, or they're like, I absolutely love watching Evans play.
I'm close to the enjoyment. I think some of that Marmite also might be sort of UK people that probably prefer their tennis players to be more like Tim Henman than Dan Evans, and I don't mean in terms of style of play. I also mean in terms of personality. But I'm a fan of his broadly. Anyway, let's try and get one more from Damien. I'm just having a look at this list. I think you probably have enjoyed Chapeau at times. Oh, I can see
I actually remember thinking that. Oh yeah, the other Canadian, I don't like watching at all. Felix, I don't know. I just never tune into his matches unless I'm forced to sort of.
Wasn't he fun when
But
he
yeah,
first on Felix? Wasn't Felix fun when he first burst on? And
up until like 21, 22, yeah. Later on, not really for me. Like I don't know. I just got very disillusioned with his game. But Chapeau actually, yes, when he beat Rafa in Montreal, I thought he was going to be like a very natural player for me to move on from the Federer fandom when he retires and maybe start following Shapovalov. But it never really came to be. I never developed that sort of a connection.
It's strange because, sorry, John.
No, you're fine.
It's strange because when I sort of jumped on the tennis bandwagon, I'd already missed the Auger-Aliassime top 5 player. I'd missed that and I'd come straight into Auger-Aliassime being like a 15, 16 player. So now when I have to remind myself that he was a top 5 player 4 or 5 years ago, which to me now seems quite weird because I wouldn't throw him in. Well, maybe now you'd throw him in. I mean, you play a match right now, Fritz versus Aliassime, like, what's the score? You're like, I don't know. It's pretty tight. That's what I'm saying. I mean, the difference isn't as big as it was back then. But, yeah, it's strange that I have to remind myself that Aliassime was actually that good however many years ago.
And I vaguely, Damien, I remember him in the US Open. I think he played Andy Murray maybe 2019. I could be wrong on that year. And basically, it was a kind of an all or nothing, hit or miss, dozens of unforced errors or dozens of winners. That was my memory of Felix when he first burst onto the scene.
I mean, I remember following him from like 2016, 17 when he was, breaking all the age records and challengers. So definitely at that time, he was, super, super exciting prospect to watch. But there's like a famous Auger-Aliassime Shapovalov semifinal in like Gatineau, I think, when one was 17, one was 18. So there were some amazing stories in there. I was also in Marseille in 2020 when he had one of his first finals. Of course, that's kind of, there was something that lingered for him for quite a while that he couldn't get that first title. But at the time, I definitely had a lot more enjoyment out of his game. I don't know. Right now, it just seems... It's a lot about like the body language too. Like, I don't know. I just can't really get too passionate watching someone who doesn't look passionate at all.
There are 15 players, I believe, on the screen right now. I'm going to play a game with Fergus. We're going to have to guess, and we've spoken about 3 or 4 of these players, so, we might have a fair idea. But we're going to guess which one of these 15. So, Damien, what I want you to do is I don't want you to tell us, but I want you in your head to choose one of these 15 players that you would like to watch the most. And then I'd like you to also choose the player you'd least like to watch, if you like, amongst this. Can you see the 15 players on the screen?
I'm having a slight issue with this, but I will just turn it on my phone and I will...
Look on your phone. It's between 54 and 68 in the ATP rankings from Monday. So it's not like quite live, if you like, but it's from 54...
Okay.
Beginning with Chapeau, going down to Boo at 68. So there's 15 players there. And I want you to, don't tell us, Damien, but I want you to choose your favorite one to watch and your least favorite one as it stands, not 2 years ago, not 4 years ago. And Fergus and I are going to guess. Fergus, do you want to go and guess his favorite one from this 15 to watch?
See, there are some players on here that are really really hit and miss on whether Damien would he'd either love them or absolutely hate them. So I'm really struggling because Mute is quite an interesting character, and I don't think Damien would be a big fan.
Okay.
We'll go. I'm gonna say Mute is the one that Damien hates watching.
Okay.
And I'm probably gonna go Love. Let's say, I don't know. Let's say Kecmanovic, because I think when Kecmanovic plays well, I actually like watching Kecmanovic when he plays well, but when he doesn't, it's not good. Obviously, that's wrong with Damien's reaction.
No, you are. I'm sure you're wrong on that one. I can say it with confidence. But Fergus, you have to realise I've been doing this with Damien for 2.5 years, including spending like probably 15 days in various apartments around Portugal. But so I got a lot more. I've got a lot more inside info than you, that's for sure. So I'm quite happy for you to be wrong on Kecmanovic. It's quite tricky because I would have probably considered Munar as being one of his least favourites, but now I got the answer on that one. But I also know it's not the favourite. I'm going to go with, because Kecmanovic is in the is a contender for his least favourite for sure. Goffin would be a contender as well. And Cam Norrie would be a contender. That'd be my three sort of contenders for his least favourite. And for his favourite, I'm going to go with Marozsan. So let's start with your favourite. You went Fergus for Kecmanovic. I went for Marozsan. And the answer is, Damien?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be either Marozsan, Bergs, or Vukic, and probably Marozsan out of that. Like Bergs, I like a lot as a person, but I think in terms of the game, Fabi probably takes the cake. And yeah, Kecmanovic is a big contender for the one that I don't really watch.
I'm going to go with Cam Norrie, by the way. I'm going to go with Cam Norrie for your least favourite.
I'm struggling between Kecmanovic, Miller, and Norrie. Like, unless you pay me, I'm not watching their matches. So, or if they are on the Challenger Tour, right?
When but you're not. Goffin wasn't in the. Well, Goffin wasn't in your debate.
Because I mean, okay, this season he's pretty horrible, but like I don't know. Last year he was still fun. Obviously in his prime he was amazing to watch. So yeah.
But I'm with you, Fergus. I don't mind watching Kecmanovic. I'm all right with watching him play. I remember him beating Draper at the Davis Cup and being quite excited about the way he played that day.
That's because you had these two experiences, right?
I know, it's the real final.
You clearly had you were at his two best events of 2023, and basically you kind of grew fond of him, and it's fine. I just never had that with him, and that's why I think he's obviously super solid, and that's kind of it. And these are the games that I don't tend to like.
See, it's hard because I've struggled to read Damien on who he actually likes to watch play, because on 90% of when you ask him, he just goes like, meh, eh. And the other 10% of the time, you're like, it could be either way. So easily could be either way.
I get it, but you'll get used to this in a couple of years.
I'm like this on live, basically, right? Whatever you ask me about, I'm probably going to be like,
I will die on the hill that I love watching Cam Norrie play tennis. I will die on the hill, and no one can tell me otherwise.
I want Scott's thoughts on Cam Norrie as well, because there's obviously plenty in the WhatsApp group, but I want to hear what Scott says about Cam Norrie. All right. Anyway, back to the tennis from today. I think we've pretty much ticked off. Oh, I do want to say one more thing that I think you went slightly wrong, Fergus, with from the beginning of your analysis, which is actually when you went for Mute, irrespective of, I think a lot of the shenanigans around Mute is probably not an alleyway. Same with Dan Evans to some extent. It's not an alleyway that Damien is likely to go down, if that makes sense. So even if you're right with Dan Evans, rubbing people up the wrong way, etc., he's probably not as likely to rub Damien up the wrong way as others. And same with Mute. Other people, by the way, will love watching Mute, and he does draw a crowd anyway. And yeah. But anyway, Damien is probably more likely to analyze players in terms of how much fun they are to watch. Although in the case of Zizou Berg's, interactions can help. Although I'm not sure where Garin would rate Zizou Berg's right now in terms of fun players that he either likes to play against or watch. But that is a story for another day. I'm looking forward to Scott's thoughts on Cam Norrie. But let's get back to the tennis and let's switch over to the US and Dallas. I have not seen a huge amount of tennis there. I saw Tiafoe struggling to a 3-set win over Daniel. I say struggling. Actually, the first set was almost a whitewash. I think it was 6-1, but somehow managed to lose the second set. And again, he's one of these other players on tour right now where I don't know with Tiafoe. He seems to be up for it or not up for it, and at times his mind can wander, and that certainly seemed to happen the other day. But anyway, as far as I'm aware, unless I've missed anything, he's still in the tournament. I think he had a day off today. Yeah, he plays Nishioka. He plays Nishioka next. But yeah, coming through in 3 sets over Taro Daniel. Ben Shelton. I'm big on Ben. There are other people on the channel, such as Damien, who are less big on him. But yeah.
After that, after the US Open, I was very sorry, not the US Oz Open. I'm now on the Shelton train.
Did he come, Fergus, did he come sort of closer than, did he put the most, lay a glove, the expression is one, did he lay a glove more on Sinner than anyone else at this tournament?
No.
Maybe? But he should have won that first set.
He definitely should have won that first set. 100% he should have.
Rune won a set and Schoolgate won a set.
I know he did. I know, but I'm not. Did you ever really think
what
Schoolgate
Damien's
was
trying to say is that Schoolgate is better than Shelton?
Yes, that's exactly what he's saying. Yes, I know.
Did Ben Shelton win the Brisbane Challenger? No. And Tristan Schoolgate did. So.
Yeah. So Schoolgate's peak is higher than Ben Shelton's. Yes, indeed.
No. Go ahead, Fergus. I don't have anything to add.
It's tough. I think that in that first set, I think it looked like it was going to be Shelton, and I thought for a moment that it was going to get interesting, but then it seemed as though that Shelton put all his eggs in that basket, and then after that, it kind of dwindled out. But I did catch a bit of the Shelton match. He looked good. He looked the most convincing of the Americans so far. The Paul Brooksby match was very good.
Oh yeah,
very, very good to watch. Paul hitting one of the shots of the year so far, and Brooksby playing some great tennis actually, which was nice to see.
Michael
Moa was 3-love up in the third, by the way.
Oh, was he?
3-3. Yeah.
Okay. Carbeas Biena, Damien, I don't know where he ranks on your enjoying watching playing list.
Kinda in the Thompson boat, as in like at first he kind of wasn't, he was just hanging in the top 100, but over the years I've grown to appreciate the progress he's made. Yes.
What happened to Nakashima? I pity we haven't got Vanch here really to maybe that's why Vanch isn't here actually. Vanch said no, he can't make it last minute, but maybe the jolting loss that Nakashima suffered to Nishioka today might have done for him. Mahatch choosing to play in Dallas, that's interesting. What do you think the motivation is, Damien, to play Dallas really? Obviously, if you're from the US, I guess it's obvious, but for players such as Carbeas Baena and Mahatch choosing Dallas over Rotterdam, for example, what do you think their thinking is?
Well, first of all, it's less competitive. I don't know if you saw that quote from Rybakina, who said that most players are in Europe. And I love it. Yeah, I mean, I think for someone like Carbeas Baena, he just has a better chance in Dallas than in Rotterdam because Dallas is weaker. And also Dallas is obviously a 500 right now. And you can basically have this whole swing of like Dallas, Delray Beach, Mexico, Indian Wells, Miami. So it started making a lot more sense in terms of the calendar. So yeah, I think Dallas obviously got a stronger feed now, which would be weird if it didn't, considering it's upgraded to a 500. But yeah, it just makes much more sense as a swing, and Rotterdam is just such a tricky event. Of course, you might land a good draw. I mean, you might get Andrea Vavasori, who is in the second round now, but most of the time you're going to have a slightly easier opportunity in Dallas than in Rotterdam.
Still feels a bit 250-ish. Now, I'm not talking about the venue because I think that's changed, and there might be lots of other things that... But, Mahatch seeded 6, Carbeas Baena and Michael Moe is a round of 32 match. Still has a sort of 250.
Michael Moe qualified, right? Again, in Rotterdam, you have some very weird qualifiers. But who is seeded 6th in Rotterdam, for example? Maybe that's like the best way of comparison.
Tsitsipas? Maybe?
Yeah, that kind of says something then.
If Tsitsipas is 6th, then yeah, that's say a lot.
I was gonna ask you, I was gonna ask both of you, do you think that Dallas is the weakest 500 on the tour
Possibly because it's just been elevated to that level. I mean, by the way, this particular issue is a contentious one. It was a contentious one. It was announced, and the reason more than anything else is because Argentina is basically having kittens over this, just going nuts over the. I mean, the press room last year in Buenos Aires was jam packed, and pretty much there was a question for particularly Argentinian players. No, actually, I would say other players too. They were all asked basically at some point or other, do you think this should be a 500? And every single player was kind of there going, yeah, because of course they're going to say that. You're not going to get Cam Norrie or Stan Wawrinka go, no, this should stay as a 250. They're all going to say, yeah, it should be. And there was also the Diego Schwartzman reaction to Dallas getting promoted to 500 and Buenos Aires staying at 250 level. I think that played into it. But yeah, so it is a contentious issue. But yeah, to be honest with you, I prefer having a bit more. I don't know if equilibrium is the right word, but a bit more of a smoothness to it. I would actually rather have a couple of less tournaments full stop in the year. I think Dallas being a 250 for me was fine. But anyway, it is what it is. But yeah, Casper Ruud is at the Dallas Open, interestingly. So yeah, he was on the Nothing Majors podcast, though it isn't as pop, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, okay, interesting. But Taylor Fritz is number 1 seed there. He's in action against Winderneck later on. Anything else from Dallas that either of you two would like to mention?
Norrie winning. That's all I have to say.
Oh, there you go, Cam Norrie, yeah. Now, Damien, you're delighted about that one, right?
You won't be because he beat Mikkelsen, but yeah. Ruud
I like Mikkelsen, yeah.
Ruud
But I
did win, actually, by the way. Ruud did win, but he had to save a couple of 0-40s in the third set.
Yeah,
saved all of them with like good serving and +1 forehands. So something at least there.
Yeah, indeed. Casper Ruud, yes. I think it was 2 love 40s that he had to go through and survive. But he did survive and he is through. And Cam Norrie beating Mikkelsen. Yes, that was right. But that was on a knife edge. Did Cam Norrie? No, I don't think he had any match points to save, but it was a tie break in the second set.
It was, but Norrie really outplayed Mikkelsen in the tie break. It was 7-2, I think, in the tie break. He completely... Yeah. And then in the third set, Norrie really outplayed him completely.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I thought Mikkelsen would win that one. And good one for Cam Norrie. He's continuing in Dallas. I guess that's Dallas and Rotterdam and Abu Dhabi wrapped up. So I guess we can just finish on Cluj. But really, there's only one story, Damien, in Cluj this week, right? And that is the remarkable form of Lucia Bronzetti.
Yeah, the significant player saying goodbye.
Yeah,
what a way to build it up, John. What a way to build it up.
Yeah, thanks, Fergus. Yeah, so Simona Halep, did it come as a surprise, Damien?
That she retired? Yeah, definitely. I mean, so early in her comeback, it's only been a few matches. I know that there's been more injury setbacks. It's a shame. I feel like her career will kind of be maybe not overshadowed, but when you have a doping case, like let's say Marin Cilic has one, right? And then he wins the US Open a year later, nobody remembers about the doping now. But when it finishes on the doping, like that's kind of what we're going to be looking at. The first thing you're going to be thinking of when you're thinking Simona Halep will be that, and that's a bit of a shame. But yeah, it was pretty quick. We weren't expecting it that it was going to happen at this event. Definitely not. And I mean, it's not even a retirement. Like, I don't know, Marion Bartoli wins Wimbledon and says farewell, right? She plays one of the worst matches of her life, and she just says, "Okay, I'm done." Rough. It's not exactly the best send-off, obviously. It may be the worst send-off we've ever seen as a whole. I mean, I'm not talking about the match only, but along with the doping and everything. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Anyway, have you got any Halep comments? I mean, obviously you're a bit more of a recent addition to watching tennis, given your age, Fergus. But you probably, I don't know if you remember her winning Wimbledon in 2019 or over that, or 2018 in Roland Garros, for example. You've probably seen a bit more of her fall than her rise, I would suggest.
Yes, I have. But, I mean, it still was a big shock to me yesterday. Obviously, it's been kind of made about a big deal that she was gonna come back this season, get loads of wild cards into events, and try play her way back into some form. And then obviously she skipped Australia because she had more injury issues. And I think that might have been the final straw for her in a sense. She must have been like, well, missing Australia. And maybe if she had played in Australia and even if she'd gone out first round, that she still might continue to play this year. But because she's had that, she might have thinking this may this my first and final tournament of 2025 and the last of my career. It's fitting at home, I guess. But it was a strange one. I don't think anyone in the crowd was expecting it at all.
No.
She kind of just walked off to her bag after losing 1-on-1 and then just picked up a microphone and just started speaking. But yeah, I mean, it's sad to see her go, but I agree with Damien. I think this is maybe one of the least pleasurable send-offs in tennis history, losing 1-on-1 to what's Bronzetti world number 70 something.
Not sure if I'm honest, but yeah, I mean, really the doping thing, of course, and the ban that got reduced, but she'd already spent 2 years away from the sport. Sadly, of course, coming towards the end of her career means that she may well be remembered for that as much as the 2 Grand Slam wins. But the way she went out, I guess, she must be in quite a bit of pain, I guess, with this knee, and that it's not a good sign, because the other alternative for her would be to do a sort of a farewell tour, to get the wild cards at the French Open and Wimbledon and then say goodbye there, either in a first or second round loss. But she obviously doesn't want to do that, and maybe that's because the knee is so bad that it's not allowing her to move comfortably. But that is the end of Simona Halep, and I think it can be also the end of the show today, as Damien drifts off into a coma, perhaps, ahead of... You look very tired, Damien.
You do.
Thank you, I guess. No, I mean, definitely, I should be pretty tired. The last few days have been a bit of a nightmare, because otherwise other than staying at the venue like for 12 hours a day, I've also had a lot of work to do after I'm back. So basically today is the first chill day. Maybe I'm actually gonna, have some time to go for a run tomorrow or whatever, because the last few days I just didn't have any spare time whatsoever. So I am definitely feeling it a little bit. But yeah, I mean, today is going to be a night, and today I plan to get some rest.
Good. All right. Fergus, thanks for joining us.
No worries. Pleasure as always.
And to the rest of you, thank you also for joining us, and you know the drill.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.